Taking students from impassive to engaged is our greatest challenge. And while at times it feels that we should scrap the whole endeavor and turn to another profession, we are not naysayers, but visionaries. Wadham and Austenson quoted this in Integrating Young Adult Literature Through the Common Core Standards. We are visionaries. Teachers have dreams. Teachers have hopes. We have crazy ideas about what we can do with our students. A recent challenge with students is reading. How do we get them to read? How can we get them to enjoy it? We have a high regard for classical literature and those written by dead people, but it doesn't interest students. It gives us a view of the past. It gives us an awareness of where we came from, and knowing where we came from is huge. We want our students to also have that awareness. But what if it causes students to lose a love of learning? They may be aware of themselves in the great scheme of human existence, but they will never pick up a book again. We need a way to foster a love for reading and give students an awareness of where they came from and where they're going. Our students these days are just not interested in old classical books. I mean, I don't blame them. They don't really interest me that much either. But we need to give students complex and challenging literature that makes them aware of the world around them, the issues they're facing, where they came from, and where they're going. The question is, could young adult literature be the answer? Wadham and Austenson define young adult literature as coming from the point of view of an adolescent and including feelings, language, and ideas from that age. My concern is that if we give students literature that comes from their point of view, won't they miss learning from those who have gone before them? I know for me, it has been invaluable learning from those who have gone before. Learning from mentors and getting counsel from people who can look into my life from an objective standpoint as a coach looking into a game, and they can see the whole play that's happening. So when I ask them for advice, they'll give it to me. I may not understand why they're telling me to do something because I'm limited in my view as I'm actually in the play. But if I listen to them, it can benefit me for the long-term game. So my question is, how can we still allow students to find literature that they can relate to, that wrestles with issues that are relevant to them, and then also learn from mentors who have gone before them and who have wisdom to share? Another question, should we use young adult literature as tools in our classroom? The Common Core Standards emphasize complexity, that we should gradually increase the complexity of literature to grow our students. I know that young adult literature can be very complicated. It can be well written. It can include relevant themes that are important. The concepts can be difficult without the actual writing difficult to read. It's not Shakespearean writing because students can be challenged by that and miss the themes and the main points that we're trying to get. But young adult literature can include difficult themes and concepts that are important and yet speak in language that they understand. The standards also outline that students should know by the end of their education all of these certain things. It's up to teachers to decide, how are we going to get students to those? How are we going to reach this point with them? So it gives teachers a lot of freedom in how we go about it. Wadham and Austenson argued that young adult literature is an extremely helpful tool in using the Common Core Standards to grow our students. Young adult literature can foster love for reading. It can grow students into independent readers of complex texts. My concern is, how will these texts familiarize students with the heritage of English language literature, which is another thing that the Common Core Standards would like. And what about college skills? How are we teaching students the skills that they need for college? I can see in young adult literature, students can learn annotation, reading critically, strategies for breaking down large sections of texts, finding main points and arguments. All of those can be taught using young adult literature. But the heritage of English language literature, we probably have to just throw in a history lesson there. One thing that is not emphasized as much in the Common Core standards is the reader and task considerations whenever we judge texts for complexity. I can quantitatively analyze, I can qualitatively analyze, but if I do not consider my students, if I do not consider their needs, their individual strengths and weaknesses, I'm going to miss the point, because my goal is individual growth. So should we teach young adult literature in classrooms? I definitely think so. Reading is too valuable for learning. If we turn students off from it, they're going to miss so much the rest of their lives because they're avoiding literature. It would be awesome if we could see students who are interested in literature and like certain themes and certain interests, and then I could kind of guide them to similar books that have the themes I want them to learn that I think can benefit them for the rest of their lives. Bushman also pushes young adult literature, saying it's extremely useful. He also pushes other mediums like music and comics, which students are very interested in. The content, he says, should choose the material, not tradition, not what we've always done, but the content, what is most beneficial for our students, what keeps them reading lifelong, and that's our goal.